Alrighty then, it's time for some short deck tags. This MonoU Reservoir. I played this archetype last season before rotation, before XLN, but I had a blue-white version with SRAM, with Leaf Chance, with pretty cool sideboard, which was reminiscent of what blue-white control played at the time as well, and what actually plays right now too. So my sideboard was pretty good. Pretty cheap deck, like dirt cheap deck basically. A few more stats about it. Very square list, which I don't think is actually optimal. There are a few tweaks here and there that you can do. Basically, it's a combo deck which wins through Everflock Reservoir in game 1, and then against decks that have a lot of hate out of the sideboard you win with the efficient construction basically. So some numbers can be tweaked in here. I'm not sure, like, I've done the numbers right. I've just tested this list. Had pretty mixed experience about it. And just a very cheap deck, like for your local events, for FNMs. For large events, I would be cautious taking it. You really need to know the deck inside out, and I'm not sure this is the final or the best list possible. But this was the ground base for me after Ixalan. I will talk about like a few things you might change and test out in here in a bit. But let's go first to a spoiler visual view so that we can see things better, because the lens part is kind of like very simple here. Basically it is the way it is because it's a pretty low land count, and then because we lost a lot of like 0 mana artifacts, we have to play all 4 maps and 4 MLS, and for that we need a lot of basics. So we have like 8 cards that fetch up basics, and because of especially if you run Weird Invention, you can't really afford to run any value lands in here. And because you need all the blues like for expertise and engineer and so on, and even more in some other builds, and because your sideboard is also like very color heavy, and all the colorless sources are just so much pain. And yeah, the mono blue version was something a friend of mine's been piloting and testing inside out last season extensively a lot throughout weeks and months, and stopped around September. I was very close to actually playing a blue-white version of this archetype during my own local nationals, but opted to play the approach control instead, and currently still on that deck, even though I might be dipping into MonoU or something else during the current season. And his list actually had 4 statuaries. I'm opting instead for Riff Inventions in those slots. Just to give me extra flexibility. I don't have a toolbox in the side, but once you run this artifact corridor calling, so to speak, you can really mix up your sideboard with some spicy tags, and then of course I can find statuary, reservoir, and I also can find a singleton inspector, which might deserve a few more slots in the deck. It's a card now even spotted in vintage in the workshop stacks, but I don't know how necessary it is for this deck. It might be actually super necessary, because I don't know how otherwise you go in a turbo mode. Statuary is not really enough. And okay, expertise is cute and all that. It's, engine / interaction spell. But then again, yeah, you might want actually the full play set, but then I don't know what you're cutting. Maybe you cut some puzzle knots. Then what else can you afford to cut actually? Maybe you can go down 1 expertise, because, well, let's just be fair. Once you draw it, it's not a guaranteed like safeguard card, so it's not gonna really protect you all that much. I don't see that you can. You probably cannot afford to shout out anything. I mean, cut anything else for extra inspectors, but basically it. you don't really have incentive to deep into white splash outside of sideboard tools, and then the deck actually doesn't become all that budgets, still budgets, but because without enough of cheap equipment, because there are some one-cost equipments in the last few sets legal in the format, but then I don't see it's enough incentive to toy with SRAM and leaf chance. And okay, you could have like a pretty good sideboard with the white splash, but I don't know if that actually helps the deck. And of course, like losing Engulf the Shore is super big. Just have this filler playset of unsummons in here, but I don't think it actually helps that much. I think you can cut like one construction here from the sideboard and add in an extra counterspell or something against aggressive decks, for example. Of course, you bring in most of your sideboards except for unsummons against control decks. Pretty much have to. But against mid-range decks without a bunch of counterspells, because like you don't have to bring all the rebukes and spell pierce and so on. Losing dispel actually doesn't hurt that much. I accidentally tested against blue-white with dispels in the deck, even though it's gone now, as far as I'm concerned. But then spell pierce at least can still like counter planeswalkers, can counter cast out for you reservoirs or construction, can counter approach and all kinds of nasty things which this spell cannot touch. And Pierce is actually like pretty good pickup for this deck, but one of the few things this deck actually gains from Ixalan, and it loses a whole lot of things. I think the deck is still fine. You can try different attacks here and there in the main deck in the sideboard. I tested this against blue-white approach and against Mardu vehicles to some mixed results. Basically against Mardu, if they don't have like a complete nuts, you can do things. Of course it gets better a little bit after sideboard. I don't think you can ever go below reservoirs, below 4 copies of Reservoir in this pretty aggressive metagame, even though you have some mid-ranges and some control decks here and there, but there's still so many aggro decks and you can't really go below 4 reservoirs, I think. What else? Stature is pretty crucial because you lost a lot of speed in all those turbo packages. Not sure if you need all 3 expertise, whether it actually helps you a lot, but a good part about this card is because it's actually an engine card. You kind of convoke it with Statuary, bounce fear of your own artifacts, and then cast a Reservoir. And yeah, for those chains you pretty much have to have, I think, Inspector on board so that you can actually pretend that you haven't lost all those zeros and still dump all those amulets and maps. Yeah, it's a very cheap deck that's actually a whole lot of fun to play. Sideboard is something like to work on because I'm not happy with this. I want something else against aggros. We don't really have anything on the lines of Crash Tentacles or anything like that. So aggro is like still pretty bad, and I don't know how to fix it. Except for hoping that this will be enough, for instance, or like rebukes, or maybe like 1 or 2 constructions just to flood the board with tokens and hope to stabilize this way. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, maybe you can tell me in the comments below. But yeah, there you have it, MonoU Reservoir, budgets, combo deck in Ixalan Standard. Until the next sale, goodbye folks.